It's one of several police shootings involving people with mental illness.
18-year-old Keith Vidal struggled with schizophrenia. He wasn't violent, and all they wanted was help getting him to treatment. Seconds later, the officer shot and killed him.
They murdered our son for no reason.
Another disturbing video that raises questions about the treatment of the mentally ill behind bars.
He would hear voices.
The extraction team restrained him. Minutes later, the 33-year-old was dead.
Jails are the #1 mental health facilities across the country. They house more mentally ill person versus any hospital, any psych facilities, anything. They're patients, not prisoners.
Mental illness is the only disease that when you're in a crisis, the cops are called. If you're having a heart attack, you don't call the police.
People with mental illness are being criminalized instead of being provided treatment.
These county jails and law enforcement, that's a public safety net. That's where you end up.
There has to be some sort of solution, some sort of help for people who are suffering from mental illness and become involved with the police.
Jeff was the youngest of our 4. He was finally diagnosed a paranoid schizophrenic. When he was totally out of control and very frightening, I would have to call the police on him. They didn't know what to do.
I would get calls all the time when I was on patrol for a person who was in a mental health crisis. I had no clue how to handle it. And I would just keep getting the repeat calls every couple days or every week to the same house, the same person. And I just accepted it that, this person's just going to be a repeat caller.
We decided very early on that we needed to address folks that were nonviolent misdemeanor offenders that were truly being put in jail because of their illness. We knew that it was law enforcement that were first responders and that they would be the ones that would be in contact with individuals in crisis.
So we decided what we would do first is train law enforcement officers in the 40-hour crisis intervention training. So they're trained to recognize mental illness. When they come up on somebody that's got kind of strange behavior, they're not using their command voice and the command presence like they're taught in the academy. They realize right away that this person has a problem. We brought together a bunch of law enforcement officers from the sheriff and the San Antonio Police Department, and every one of them didn't want to be there. I heard things like, I'm a cop, I'm not a social worker, I don't believe in these hug-a-thug programs, and this is a bunch of BS.
Before I went through the 40-hour CIT training myself, I didn't have the resources on how to handle mental illness. Well, now, it's way different. You know, I have confidence that when I go into someone's home, if they are experiencing some type of, mental health crisis, that I can get them to the right facility, and then I may never hear from them again.
I'm a mother, I'm a sister, I'm a friend, I'm a voter, I'm a volunteer, I'm all these people. I contribute to my community, and I have a mental illness. My diagnosis is major depression with psychotic features, dissociative identity disorder, and panic disorders. I've done the presentations to CIT training. And I tell them, I want to be treated the way you want your mother to be treated if she was ever diagnosed with a mental illness. I'm in a crisis, I'm having a crisis, and I don't understand what's going on around me.
Get back! Get back! Get down! Don't do it! Don't do it!
In incidents with people who have mental health issues, it's unfortunate to see the ones that result in the use of deadly force where an officer didn't have CIT training and possibly armed with that kind of information, that kind of training, outcomes may have been different.
I never knew each morning when I got up what I might find. He began to talk about a fire in the garage. So I thought, would he, without knowing what he's doing, start a fire? How much danger is he in, and how much danger am I in? So I called the police and I said, I'm terribly frightened. When they arrived, I introduced them to Jeff, and in this case, they came in plain clothing. They weren't in police uniforms. Now, they could have handcuffed him, I guess, and pulled him out, but they are taught how different that person is that they're dealing with. So they began to talk to Jeff. If they can get the person that's ill to, in their own mind, they're cooperating, it's far less violent, it's better for the patient, and certainly it's better for our police.
When nonviolent people go to jail with mental illness, they stay 3 or 4 times longer than a violent offender, but when they get released, if they're not hooked up into treatment, they're going to be right back in. There are so many people in their emergency rooms who shouldn't be there. The previous police chief here has actually kept data on how long his officers are spending in emergency rooms waiting for psych evals and medical clearance, 8 to 14 hours. He spent $600,000 a year in overtime. Now here at the Restoration Center, the law enforcement officers are in and out within 15 minutes.
What we have here at the Restoration Center is services patients who are in crisis. They either walk in or brought in here by CIT. They recognize the patient's in crisis. They're not truly suicidal. They don't really want to hurt somebody. They just need help.
There are about 18,000 people a year who are brought mainly by law enforcement officers to this Restoration Center who used to go to jail or emergency rooms or put back on the street. If you're a taxpayer and really don't know a lot about mental illness, the fact that the public's a lot safer when these people get treated, and the taxpayer saves a ton of money. Over the last 5 years, we've saved about $50 million in taxpayers' dollars.
We want everyone trained because of the potential daily that someone's going to come across someone who's in crisis. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of how soon.
We've been coming up on 6 years of existence, and we don't have a use of force on our unit, which means we've never tased anybody, we've never shot anybody, we've never hit anybody with an asp. But patients, talking to them, we get the result we want in the end, and we don't have to force it on them.
You want CIT to respond because you're going to get the help that you need rather than be sent to jail.
The issues that police officers have with people who have mental illness is not unique to San Antonio. That's all over the country, all over the world. So any city that would decide to focus on this, put an emphasis on this, would certainly benefit from it.
I no longer thought, what if they have to shoot Jeff?
We save money, we improve public safety, and people can get functional again. I mean, why wouldn't you do this? It's really a no-brainer.